Ladies and gentlemen, your new Hermione Granger for the Harry Potter remake series on HBO, and I don't really care all that much, to be completely honest. It's been a lot of controversy because the young child who will be playing Hermione Granger is, I guess, swarthy, and I gotta be honest, I don't really care all that much, and I've seen some people getting really angry in general because it's a race swap, but to be fair, it's only a minor deviation in terms of the expectations of Hermione, so I ain't all crying about it. However, I will say I do hope this flops. I think the original series and films were fantastic, though they did change some things about the book. We get it, they do. I am just offended by race swapping in general. And so, a lot of people are saying they don't want to get into this political controversy because it's a little kid. And it's like, it's like the little girl. She's going to play Hermione Granger and who cares, right? Yeah, so I've got no problem talking about that stuff. And I'll say it again, I don't think it's as big a deal, but I do just generally despise race swapping, which brings us to the bigger issue. And that is they're making Snape black. And look, man, to a certain degree, my attitude's always been, I don't really care all that much about race swapping in certain contexts. But when the character is described specifically in a way, then I'm kind of like, you're not bringing to life the character we hoped to see. And there is an image painted of what Snape is, and Alan Rickman did a fantastic job. The reason why I don't care as much as Hermione Granger is it's not as big a deviation from the expectation of what Hermione is. They've tried to do this thing in the past where they were like, Hermione is actually black, but everyone's like, yeah, come on, nah. Even the woke left were like, no, she's not. But this young girl seems fine for Hermione. I'm not going to rag on these kids. I look forward to seeing what they pull off. That being said, Snape is a gangly, frail white man who was bullied, and they're in Britain. And so this is the issue where it's like, guys, we know what you're doing. We get what you're doing. But here's why stuff doesn't work, okay? This is the issue I take with all the race swapping stuff. We want to see the characters. Again, and this goes exactly as to why I don't care about the young girl playing Hermione. I wish her the best. I think people should chill a little bit, but I do understand the anger over race swapping. People are calling this girl Hermione Gonzalez. And I'm like, oh, so what? Come on. The changing of Snape, who is described a certain way, to someone who is going to be described in a very different way, takes away what we hope to see. Like, here's my point. People are going to call it race or whatever. No, shut up. I don't care. When we read the books and in our mind we draw a picture of what we see, this young actress playing Hermione deviates a little bit, but not too much. I think it's fine. But shifting from a thin, gangly, long, slim hair, pale guy to a tall, short-haired black man. Obviously, they're giving him a costume and everything. It's a major deviation from what we want to see come to life. That is to say, I largely don't care when actors play roles. I defended, I thought Idris Elba was fantastic as Heimdall, and a bunch of people were upset saying, Heimdall is a white Norse god, he shouldn't be a black man, and I'm like, I think he did a good job. People were mad saying, we can't have a black James Bond. James Bond is white, and I'm like, Idris Elba can be James Bond. I'm not crying about that. But, there's it's a fine line, I guess. The Little Mermaid is a really good example of what the point I'm trying to make. There's a line too far. They took this, what was her name? Halle Berry or something? I forget the actress's name. Everybody has an image of what Ariel looks like. And that's the point. Heimdall, nobody had an image of what Heimdall looked like. There's no comic book where people were like, we all read the book. It was a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and everyone knows what Heimdall looks like. So when Idris Elba enters the fray as an actor playing Heimdall, it's just him. He's the character. It was a character based on a Norse god who was written for these movies, and I don't care. James Bond is a secret agent. I mean, they tried doing a black female James Bond, and now it's like, come on, James Bond is a guy. His name is James. There's a lore about how James Bond is a code name, and that's why it's always different, but whatever. I think Idris Elba would be fantastic because I think he's a great actor, and I don't care that he's black. He could be James Bond, I guess. Some people don't like that. My point is, we got these classic Harry Potter films. A multi-billion-dollar franchise. The young girl playing Hermione is fair-skinned with dark hair, and some people are noticing that she's not ethnically white or whatever, and so they're like they race swapped it to Mexican. I don't even think she's Mexican, by the way. They're calling her. I'm assuming she's British or something. Maybe she is. I have no idea. I don't really care all that much. She does not change all that much from our expectation of what Hermione Granger might look like. Snape does. And now some people are going to say, well, you're just basically saying black people can't play certain characters. Well, I don't expect a white guy to play Shaft or Black Panther either. Like, if they remade Black Panther and had a white dude play T'Challa, we'd all be like, huh? Like, characters are written in specific ways. So James Bond can be whatever. Like, you're right. Like, I don't really care. Heimdall, I don't really care. But for this stuff, you are remaking what we already have an image and a vision of who these characters are from the movies and from the descriptions in the books. That's the issue I take with how they do this race swapping. I'm going to tell you why they're doing it. In the first films, J.K. Rowling stated, they'll make the movies, but they got to be all British actors. And that was brilliant. She was basically saying, we don't want Hollywood coming in here and then choosing all of these people. We want to be a British film. It is written by British, and that was masterfully done. Now Hollywood's getting involved with HBO, and they have quotas. So they had to figure out which character was now going to be a person of color. And they chose Snape. And I'm just like, okay. You know what's really funny? We have this is an article from 2015. J.K. Rowling, we all know you didn't write Hermione as black in the Harry Potter books, but it doesn't matter. Your tweets about Hermione's race were an afterthought, but it's okay. We're happy you're helping to add diversity to the franchise. Back in 2015, she basically said, well, actually, Hermione was described as being short with frizzled hair. She was black. And it's like, no, she wasn't. Shut up. They do have this video. Where is this? There's a video somewhere. Look at this. Come on. Alan Rickman embodied Snape. Alan Rickman died. Okay? We honor Alan Rickman. We want to have someone embody the same character, and they're not doing that. They've brought in a different race character, okay? I think there's a certain line where I thought I had this thing pulled up. I guess I don't. There's a funny video where it shows, it's called Every Word Spoken by a Person of Color in the Harry Potter franchise in every movie. And it's 6 minutes long. That's it. In 8 films spanning like dozens of hours, only 6 minutes of lines spoken by people who are not white. You know why? Because they're in Britain. Like, it's so stupid. So they're obsessed with race. So instead of just saying we're going to make these characters as described and representative of what people expect, they do race swapping garbage to adhere to the DEI quotas like that article said in 2015. Now here's the point. Ariel didn't work because of nostalgia. And I think this is going to run into a similar problem. We all saw Disney's Little Mermaid. And it was a young, white, female fish person with red hair. They decided to get a young black girl and dye her hair red, bleach it and then dye it red. And I'm like, I actually find that the most offensive part. You wanted to have a young black girl play this character, but her hair had to be red, but her skin didn't matter. And so I'm like, why not just let her have black hair? And they said, I got a response from all these people, and they were like, because the book describes her hair as red. And I'm like, yeah, and her skin is white. Like, this is stupid. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I have no problem if they're like, we're going to cast a young black woman to play Ariel, then don't dye her hair. But we're trying to be true to the book, then cast a white woman who represents the character better. For the nostalgia we all feel, we want to see this character brought to live action life. And they did not do it. Some people said Will Smith wasn't blue like Robin Williams or whatever. I don't know, whatever. I said genie's magic, and that's harder to do. And Will Smith's a famous actor, so I'm not crying about that. But I will tell you, these movies bombed. Little Mermaid failed. When they do this race swapping stuff, people get frustrated because they have a memory and a feeling attached to that, and they want to see it brought back to life. That's why we like remakes. So when they do things like this, people get upset about it. Now you've got Miles Morales in the Spider-Man universe, right? And they did Into the Spider-Verse. And actually, what was the first one? Was it Into the Spider-Verse? The movie did really well. It was Sony. Why? Because it's a different dimension with a different character and a different backstory. And he's friends with Peter Parker. They didn't just erase Peter Parker. The Spider-Verse narrative had been around for a long time, and there's a full multiverse of different kinds of Spider-Man. So when they make Miles Morales, some people said all they did was create an Afro-Puerto Rican, I think. He's half Puerto Rican, half black character, and it's race swapping. I'm like, well, they made a new character. That's fine. I don't like the erasure of characters that we've grown attached to with memories and all that stuff. That's the problem. So again, I throw it back to, Hermione Gonzalez or whatever. She's fair-skinned. She's a little kid. I think it'll be fine. My bigger question is going to be, can she act and embody the character properly? And I don't think who she is and what she represents deviates all that much, and that's fine. I think it'll be okay. But come on, guys. I understand the issue is that J.K. Rowling didn't write a story containing a bunch of black characters, but to just take one at random and then cast a black person to play what is obviously a white character is just lazy. It's lazy, and I find it to be offensive. I find it to be racist against black people. But whatever. Everyone's complaining. I'm not sure I care all that much. I don't think they should be remaking it at all, but I think it's a disservice to Alan Rickman's legacy. And I think these people live in this stupid world. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? Like I said, Idris Elba playing James Bond or Heimdall, I think is fantastic. He's a great actor. And those are characters that we're not as attached to because the characters change. Like Heimdall is a god. We didn't see a movie before with Thor and Heimdall, and Idris Elba did a fine job. I didn't care at all. Harry Potter has visual legacy and descriptions that we want to see recreated. That's why the Disney failed. The remakes failed, I believe, because it breaks nostalgia, and I think this is going to come into the same problem. I know some people are upset about the Hermione thing, too. I'm just a bit more tolerant, I guess. We'll see. I'm going to leave it there. Stay tuned. That'll do it for the day. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we'll see you all in the next bit.